For joining us today on another episode of RVA Tech's Tech It Yourself. Today, our webinar series is brought to us by UDIG, and they're going to go over intelligent automation. For those of you who haven't attended before, we are on the Zoom platform. There is a Q&A box at the bottom, so feel free to put your Q&A down there. I think the UDIG folks are going to leave about 15 minutes at the end for Q&A, so by all means, put them in there. You can also use the chat box if you want to just send a message or pass along a thought. The more engagement, the better. So please feel free to pop in there in either the chat box or the Q&A box. All right, with that said, I'd love to introduce the UDIG folks to you all. First, we have Chris Lara, who is the Senior Director of Intelligent Automation. He is a 30-year technology industry veteran working with clients of all sizes and all industries with a local to global reach. He's a certified enterprise architect and has led architecture teams through complex business and technology modernization efforts. Jessa Mikuchi is also with us. She is a senior consultant on the intelligent automation team. She spent over 9 years working on technology-related projects and initiatives from an analytical and project management role, as well as automation development. Dustin Kleckler is also with us. He is a senior consultant with over 5 years' experience in the automation industry. Dustin has hands-on experience in all aspects of the automation delivery lifecycle. This enables him to help clients through all phases of their automation journey, from design and architecture through delivery and operating at scale. Chris, Jessa, Dustin, thanks so much for joining today. Glad to have you on the stage. And Chris, I will pass it to you.
Nick, thank you, and welcome everybody. And big thanks to Nick and Lindsay for putting this together. Hopefully you're all enjoying lunch. If you're listening to the recording, good morning or good afternoon or good evening. So welcome everybody. Appreciate your time today, and just really wanted to take you guys through our intelligent automation practice. We'll talk about some of the tools. We'll talk about some of the features of intelligent automation, some key successes for implementing the platforms, and some potential use cases, and also some demos. So we've got a couple demos towards the end. Jess will run us through those, and before that, Dustin and I will kind of tag team throughout the presentation. So if you have any questions, feel free to drop in the Q&A, and we'll kind of get rolling here. So just a quick overview of UDIG. Founded in 2001, we're actually celebrating our 20th anniversary here. We just celebrated the official date. We're going to have a little celebration in September. We are headquartered there in Richmond. We do have locations in Nashville, which is kind of the area Dustin's located. I am the virtual office in Knoxville, so we are all working from our homes these days, but really focus on Mid-Atlantic and Southeast, and really focused on our team and delivering great results for our clients. From a service delivery perspective, strategy, software, data, we fall under the transformation piece. So as our clients, as you all are looking to modernize, to do some automation, really falls into that transformation space. So, but we have I've got counterparts in the data side, strategy, and then full stack software development. So that's a little bit about UDIG. We'll dive into the intelligent automation piece, and just kind of a little bit of background on why clients and why you guys may be looking at it, why you may have that practice and so forth. But we focus on two things with our clients. Employee experience and customer experience are probably the top two that we target. So getting rid of those mundane tasks, repeatable tasks. I was on the phone with a client this morning, and we were kind of talking through some of the use cases they had, and they said, look, we're they're pretty big client. They've got maybe 30,000 employees globally, and they said, look, we're definitely looking towards AI and ML models. We're looking to really start using some of the capabilities, whether that's task mining, process mining, but right now we've got our hands full with just the repeatable processes that, you look around, through back office processes, whether that's accounts payable or accounts receivable, or, they're a technology company, so they're opening tickets for clients and so forth. Just all the manual processes that go along with that. There's so much low-hanging fruit in their environment. He said, we can't even get to those right now. We're 6 months out to get to some of those more complex things. So they're building a team internally, looking for some supplemental resources. But it's all about, for them, it's about employee experience, for, automating some of those mundane tasks. Is how do we, take some of this stuff off their plate, and let them focus on things that are more important. From a customer experience, how do we route those tickets through our process faster and get them to someone that can really help them? And so those are a couple of big things that top of mind for them. Customer experience too. I'm sure, I had this experience last week with one of the big box stores. When I was on their chatbot, I said, hey, I've got, this shipment apparently is damaged, it's broken. It said, I entered all the information, and then as soon as, I get to the service representative on the chat bot, oh, what's your problem? Yeah, all that stuff I just entered into the chat to actually get to you. And just the total disconnect between your problem and, actually talking to that customer service rep. So how do we connect those things through chatbots, through, call center automations, popping those kind of things up on screens, so that the client feels like they've got a good customer experience. They're not having to repeat themselves. They're not starting over. I'm sure all of you have experienced that at one point or another with some company. The other part that we tend to address with automation is the flexible workloads and surges in workloads. Some people are very seasonal, have seasonal workloads. Maybe there's a rush of hiring that happens, for HR teams, lots of benefit turnovers. Looking at those type of processes in the company, and how do we automate those things? How do we get more consistent with data? Our data team stays very busy with master data management projects, but how do we keep that data clean? The more errors that we can reduce on the front end, as people retype things 5 times into databases, or data that eventually gets into a database, how do we have consistency across those things? So those are, and then legacy applications, interim applications, how do we bridge that gap? So just a few reasons why we're focused on intelligent automation. The tools out there from, Uipath, which we'll talk a little bit about today. Dustin will talk a little bit about that. Automation Anywhere, Microsoft's Power Automate. There's a bunch of tools out there. What's best for your company, may vary. We do, for enterprise level kind of projects, Automation Anywhere and, specifically Uipath are pretty much our go-tos. So with that kind of, quick overview, why we do intelligent automation, and why we've got this practice within UDIG and what it's bringing to our clients. Let's dive a little deeper, and I'm going to turn it over to Dustin to kind of take us through some of the key components.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. I don't know if you guys noticed, but 2 slides back, there was a picture of actual robots. And so when anyone under the age of 6 or my grandmother asks me what I do, I just tell her I build robots. It's a win-win because it satisfies them and it makes me look really cool. So when you see the actual robots, what we're actually talking about when we say intelligent automation here. When we say intelligent automation, it's really a holistic solution that leverages various tools and technologies to automate a given business process. So looking at a few of the components here that could be a part of intelligent automation, the robotics process automation. So this is really good for those repetitive, mundane, and simple rules-based tasks. RPA is really good for that. Or process mining, discovering exactly what processes an organization is spending their time on and how those processes are being done. Document intelligence is a big one, processing and understanding digital documents, whether it's PDF or, whatever format, and a whole host of other solutions. You can see a few of the other ones here. can really be a part of the intelligent automation stack. But when we say intelligent automation, it's just combining all of these solutions to find the right fit for the business or the use case. So looking at a few of the big players here, if you guys are familiar with RPA, I'm sure you've heard of most of these guys. Automation Anywhere is, I think my background's mostly in Automation Anywhere, and I think it's a bit more intuitive for maybe non-technical business users to pick up. So this would obviously, be useful if you have a citizen developer model that you're wanting to implement. Uipath, a really robust tool. Uipath is one of the leaders we'll look at here in a second, but they do a really good job of having a lot of training and resources online, which I really like. And we'll see here in a minute that they're one of the leader in the space right now. Blue Prism, I personally haven't done a lot with Blue Prism, but I know of a lot of Blue Prism developers that really like the flowchart visual layout that Blue Prism offers. And then Microsoft Power Automate. So Power Automate's kind of the new player in the RPA space. And the big advantage Power Automate has is its cost entry. So compared to all of these other solutions listed here, Power Automate's going to be the most budget friendly. So you can see here the leaders, UiPath, Automation Anywhere, Microsoft, Power Automate, and Blue Prism are really the ones that we're focused on here at UDIG, and specifically UiPath, Automation Anywhere, and Power Automate. Microsoft, I think, is growing pretty quickly, so they're relatively new in this space. But these are the three tools we feel the strongest about. Okay, so how are these robots run? And I keep saying robots, these automations. There's typically two traditional ways that they're run. The unattended robot is when you schedule a robot or a job on a virtual machine or server, and that robot is just scheduled and it's going to kick off at a certain interval and do what it's programmed to do. So you don't see it running unless you open up the VM or the machine it's running on and actually watch it. Versus the other model is an attended model. So an attended model I like to describe more as like a Excel macro. So, a human could be doing some work and then they could go and manually trigger an Excel macro to pick up that work. And the same way in an attended automation, the human would do. They would just go and trigger that bot locally on their machine whenever they want it to run. So you can see there's a few variations here. Hybrid, so a human is actually doing work or entering data while a unattended bot is in the background doing the same process, maybe different aspects of it, or maybe partially unattended. So a human is setting the stage and really setting up the bot to work, so the bot could then maybe pick up maybe a piece of the process could be automated, not the whole process. So the human could do that piece where automation isn't viable, and then a bot could come and pick up the work from there. So ultimately, the differences and the flexibility and how these bots can be deployed really allows for better solutions and more nuanced solutions that are more tailored towards the business's needs. Okay, so I'll just take a minute, a few slides here to talk about our general intelligent automation approach here at UDIG. So there's a lot of buzz around the automation space, but it's not without its challenges, right? So vendor marketing material and different industry data has really hyped up a lot of the positive aspects of automation. But as with any new technology, there's going to be challenges as it's adopted. So you can see in the slide here, it's pretty common to run into road bumps when implementing automation. 91% of organizations are using some sort of automation technology. And those get, around 30 to 50% of those RPA specific projects fail. And then also said 63% of surveyed, and the Deloitte one specifically said that the speed to implementation had not been achieved. So those are a few of the challenges. A few of the other common challenges that I see organizations having an issue with: finding good developers. finding and vetting good processes, accurately calculating ROIs or KPIs, how to support these automations when they're delivered. So these are all common challenges, but they can be addressed. This is why we feel strongly about doing automation the right way. And by that, I mean implementing strong governance and methodology, having good best practices throughout the automation lifecycle. And really, these things will mitigate a lot of these challenges. So this is a snapshot there. Yeah, the RPA lifecycle here. So this is a snapshot of a traditional RPA lifecycle. And if you're familiar with traditional software development, the RPA lifecycle and the traditional software development lifecycle is very similar. There are some nuances and some differences along the way that are actually key, but for the most part, there's a lot of similarity there. So, for example, the idea phase, really finding and assessing, hey, these are good candidates for automation, and then maybe saying like, hey, are these good fits for our tools? And so the part of kind of finding the low-hanging fruit or finding the automations you want to attack first can be a challenge. The planning piece, so actually calculating the ROI, the projected ROI, and then coming up with a process definition document where we really get the requirements from the business and make sure that we understand the process thoroughly. And then typically you would move to that build phase where we're creating a solution design. We're going to plan out this bot and create a solution design document and assign a developer a sprint development plan, and then deploy and manage. So a lot of times, I think the production support can be overlooked and the importance of that and maintaining these bots. If you're using, applications that are interacting with GUI interfaces or different interfaces that change, that could present issues. So it's important to have a strong production support and management plan. And then the other steps, obviously the fun steps when the bots are kind of running and in production. So that's a screenshot, kind of a little snapshot of a typical RPA lifecycle there. There's some variations to this. People do it a little differently, but that's generally, the kind of approach.
Yeah, that's great, Dustin. Thank you for taking us through that. I as we talk to more and more clients, I think we're seeing some, the more mature users of it really focus on the, software development lifecycle. So that's, very important because you've got to keep up with it. Like you said, if screens change, you've got to make sure that you've got good change management and so forth. And we'll talk about some of the keys to success here, but you've got a citizen developer model, then you got the enterprise model. So the two can intersect very well. It's just a matter of planning and Dustin, I'm sure you've seen it work well, on both sides, right?
Yeah. So yeah, I've seen a lot of different variations of it as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you. So let's talk about some potential use cases, keys to success. And just, through our experience and working with some of our clients and kind of seeing what they go through, maybe early stage clients where just trying to adopt the technology, what kind of things that you run into. So I think Dustin kind of hit on this, we've talked about it a couple times, but, finding those first good candidates to start working on automations. We've got tools, we've got the process capture tool, we've got process mining tools, we've got, the task, mining tools. So we've got a bunch of tools out there, but how do you find those first couple, maybe just to do a proof of concept, proof of technology? Does it work in my environment? It's going to be high volume, repetitive things. If you're doing, we had one client that we were talking to, and I said, we really hate this process. We hate doing it. It's low value, but we've got to do it. And we spend roughly 200 hours a year, on this process. When you look at that, it depends on the metrics that you're tracking, but it's hard to do, something hard to come up with an ROI for a bot specifically to only do that. Now, there's other ways to go about it. We'll talk about some of those things in a little bit, but make sure that you've got decent volume or high volume. The task is repetitive. There's few exceptions. So one of the key things that Jessa and Dustin and the extended team will kind of go through is mapping out that process and seeing how many times do we deviate from that process. And honestly, the tools are really good at finding that as well. But how many times do we deviate from that process? If you're deviating 5% of the time, yeah, probably a good candidate for automation. If you're deviating 50% of the time or 75% of the time, either you've got to fix the process to make it more repeatable, or maybe you can carve out a piece of the process to automate, but you're not going to be able to automate the whole thing. It's just too many exceptions. You're not going to get good value out of it. So what I call swivel chair operations. Hey, I'm in one system, I've got to enter another system. Those may be good candidates as well. And then infrequent, like if you're changing your code base, every week or every month, or doing frequent, releases to those applications, maybe not the best ones to automate, at least at this point, till they get a little more stable and a little bit more mature in the applications. So that's just a couple of general attributes that we look for as clients start out, or as you're going down that journey and really investigating. So pick the low-hanging fruit, pick the some easy successes and easy wins to really kind of establish that program within your company. So some sample use cases, and this is just a few. I tend to classify especially early adoption in those back office processes, and those maybe paper intensive. So accounts receivable, accounts payable, human resources. We have a lot of folks that we talk to that their human resource process is, okay, I'm going to recruit one way, and you'll actually see a little recruiting demo here in just a minute. But I'm going to recruit, then I've got to get my talent management system, then get an offer letter out to them. If they accept the offer letter, then the next part of the process kicks off, to where you've got to assign them software. You've got to assign them a laptop or desktop. Maybe you've got a desk phone. So many different systems, talent, the learning management systems, the benefits, the payroll, all those pieces that we have to do just to onboard somebody. If you've got enough volume there to justify automating that, that's a really good fit for it. So kind of think of some of those back office processes. Contract management. This is not a contract management system. We wouldn't necessarily build that. There's specialty things for that, but maybe just the interfaces. Maybe you need to flag from a vendor management perspective, this company needs to be up for review. So just a few, and this will be up on the website too for RVA Tech to review later. But think of call centers, call agents, that maybe you've got a great call center tool, but it doesn't pop up all the information on the client. So a few things to think about for some sample use cases. Some a little more complex than others, but we'll see a couple in the demo the demos that Jess will take us through. So some of the keys to success is it's got to be an IT and business partnership. So we've seen a lot of clients start off on the business side without IT even knowing about it. Back to the comments about citizen developer, you need to be careful that your citizen developer is a part of your overall plan, but it shouldn't necessarily start there. I think it's sometimes it's a little bit oversold. If you've got power users in Excel that are doing a lot of very complex macros and so forth, they'll probably pick it up. But I wouldn't just give it to everybody in your environment to expect them to pick it up. But make sure that you're tied in with your IT folks. You got to have security permissions. Everything you go through with a new application or platform in your environment, you've got to address. The easy wins we kind of talked about. Start small. Make sure you get buy-in from from the folks that are either in that department, the folks that are actually that you're helping automate some of their daily processes. And I'm sorry, we used a few acronyms here. So organizational change management. it's very important in this space. People hear automation and they freak out. We tend to refer to them as digital assistants. That gets a little bit more friendly, but it's RPA, so robotic process automation. So when people see that, they tend to get a little nervous. Once they see what it does, it's much more acceptable. But we talked to a client, this is probably 2 or 3 months ago, and they said, hey, we've got one automation in place. How do we deal with trying to get that spread, that message spread across? How do we develop that message for other departments in the company? Because the one automation they had done actually was a lady that was retiring. Part of her job function needed to, they could automate, and so they did that, but they didn't want that to be their story internally, right? And it's not. The automations that we do are to help people and really make them more valuable, and take off the repeatable tasks that they go through every day. So pulling that workload off of them, let them focus on more important things. But you've got to communicate that early and often. If you don't have organizational change management person on staff, make sure you at least look for that and have that constant communication with your team to understand what's going on there. So the other thing too is capture the success criteria. I think a lot of people focus on just the hard dollars. Okay, how much is it going to save me? I'm going to save 1,000 hours a year of Bob's time, and he makes $20 an hour. But it's much bigger than that. It's about what other what opportunity costs are you missing? What other things could Bob be doing that's much more valuable that he can't do because he's mired in this process. So understand those KPIs, and they can be soft dollars, they can be hard dollars, they can be time recaptured. People couldn't quantify it in different ways, but they're all important. So make sure you define those up front, and then as you mature the program within your organization, the COE becomes very important. So how do we gather all these ideas? How do we, with our business stakeholders, with our IT stakeholders, how do we prioritize these automations? Maybe they're even doing ROIs, maybe even have centralized development for it. So we see that being, a progression. You don't necessarily have it day one, but kind of keep it in mind so you don't get a whole bunch of distributed processes that you lose control over. So when things break, people leave and you lose track of all that. So having that central organization, and there's a lot of tools out there that do it. Uipath's got the central tools to manage those things and document those. A lot of the documentation that we deliver that Dustin was mentioning, right? So the process design documents, the solution design documents, a run book, right? What are the common things that would break here? So those standard kind of, I'll call them IT processes that we're used to going through a change management board for things and so forth. Those kind of things, those are things that we want to have in place, and and have full enablement and transparency as we go down the automation path. So with that, let me turn it back to Dustin for just a couple of case studies, and then we'll hop into the demos. So Dustin, back to you.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. So looking at this case study here, this was an interesting use case. Essentially, the process was there were prescription drug manufacturers who would send literally thousands of RX price updates a year. So the RX drugs, the price is always changing, and the wholesale acquisition cost is what we had to update in the system, the ERP system, which was SAP at the time. So it was coming in via email, and in a lot of different formats. It would come in via PDF. Some, Pfizer may send one way, Astra, whoever may send another, PDF, Excel, and I think some were just like text and an email. So there's quite a bit of variation in how we were receiving these. And again, the volume, you really made it just kind of a nightmare of the process. We had different team members who were assigned to basically different mailboxes. So what we decided to do was consolidate those mailboxes into one shared mailbox, and then used a cognitive decisioning tool called Decision Engines. And what this would do is we'd feed a lot of the inputs and say, hey, here are all the options of different places you could look for RX price updates. And decision engines are really good about standardizing that and giving us just one clean Excel sheet with all of the daily price, RX price updates. So from there, we essentially use Automation Anywhere as the RPA tool. And once that data was standardized, we could take it, uploaded it into SAP pretty straightforward. So it went from this super messy process of a lot of people involved, a lot of communication. Hey, I've got this one, I'll take this one, to really just one mailbox, a pretty high success rate. And then we saved, it was big time savings as well. So this one was definitely a big win.
Hey, Dustin, along that, it looks like these are, pretty modular pieces too. Is that pretty consistent across the different platforms and so forth? You can mix and match technologies and so forth?
Yeah, and really that kind of layered technology is common, and it's kind of analogy I always use is like, let's find the right tools for the project. So instead of saying like, hey, here's the tools we have, what can I build? What can these do? It's like, let's find, hey, here's the the process that we need to automate. Let's go find the right tools to make this happen. And so, yeah, really stacking these and making them modular is pretty common, especially in processes that need a bit more than just standard RPA.
So intelligent automation doesn't fix everything, just it's like magic pixie dust?
Yeah.
Okay.
I used to say it's automation, not automagic. So
yeah. Got it. No, I appreciate that viewpoint. So okay, next one.
Yeah, so this client had a AP process where there was 5,000 invoices per month that they were receiving. So they were getting the invoices in, kind of similar to the last one, in I believe it was different mailboxes. They were received via email, and so these were actually PDFs, but different AP coordinators on the team were assigned to different vendors. So again, a lot of moving parts, a lot of people working off of different mailboxes, a lot going on. And so similar to the last process, we really decided to do kind of a layered technology approach where we're utilizing multiple tools. So the first thing we did was use Jira as kind of the queue management system. So we set up Jira and we made a Jira automation where anytime an email is received to a specific mailbox that meets certain criteria, it would actually go and create a Jira issue with the attached PDF invoice on the Jira issue. So already off the bat, now we just have a Jira queue that we're working off of that everyone can have a centralized place to work. So then we decided to do a bot that was actually going to go in and figure out who to assign each invoice to. So it would assign the invoice, set it to the correct status, and then pull key information off of the invoice to be uploaded into their system, their document management system. So it was a huge win. Right now, I think we're at around 30%, automated. And so I think, that was a big win for them, but realistically that number is likely going to go up.
Awesome. Thanks, Dustin. Appreciate you taking us through those couple. And now I'm going to turn over to Jessa, and Jessa, you take us through a couple demos, but
yep.
Thanks, Chris. Kick us off. Thanks.
Yep. So we're going to be using Uipath for these two demos. The first one is invoice processing. So it's going to go through two invoices, extract data utilizing Uipath's document intelligence tool that Dustin was mentioning earlier with some of the IA tools, and then kind of put that data into Excel. So when it kicks off, it is going to pull up the first invoice. This is Uipath's validation station, which is a part of their document understanding tool. It uses optical character recognition to identify what the document type is. So it's recognizing as an invoice. And you can see it's extracting data that we've identified we needed. So invoice date, invoice number, name. On address, you notice it extracted a space between the T and the R in street. That's just how it read the document. So you just go ahead and simply make that edit. And that's where machine learning comes into play, and it trains the model how to better extract the data in the future. So it makes that change. And then anytime there's a table, you're going to see you have to go in and validate that table as well. So when you open that up, you can see we've identified we want 4 pieces of information. This invoice has those 4 pieces. So we're going to pull that. Again, there's a space in that word that we're going to fix. So once we save it, it will go into the machine learning training. And then once you see that, you validate it and save. This is something the business user would use as they're going through their process. And the more they do it, the more the system learns and the less they need to do it. So it's more of a business user tool. And here's another one, same thing. It's identifying it as an invoice. The same data has been extracted. So date, invoice number, name. You'll notice on this one, the address pulled correctly. So we don't have to do any fixing or retraining for the machine learning model. And then when it goes into the table, you'll see this time it only has 2 of the columns that we're looking for. It doesn't error out or anything. It just doesn't pull that data. So it's pulling the description and the amount since that's what's available, and then go ahead and validating that. And once you confirm all that and save it, it's going to pull up the Excel worksheet that you'll see. This could be put into any accounts payable, receivable, any sort of system that you need. For the sake of this demo, we're using Excel. You can see it pulled all the data from the invoice. That space and street was fixed in the export. I totaled up the invoices using a simple formula, sum formula. And then the only thing missing is the details of the table. So there's a tab for each one that has those details pulled. So you see on that one, it pulls those 2 columns that it has. And then on this other one, it pulls all 4 columns that it's looking for. So again, it can go into any system. For the sake of this, we're just showing it in Excel. But this is just one way that you can do some document processing to kind of speed up the process. You have the business users along the way helping validate and train it and get it smarter, with the end goal. There's very few that need to be, manually reviewed, but this kind of helps also build the trust of the automation as well. So that's the first demo. The other one is a recruiting tool. So this one's going to show LinkedIn Recruiter pulling up a saved search and kind of exporting it into our applicant tracking system, which we use Greenhouse at UDIG. So this is kind of a tool to help with our prospecting. So when this one kicks off, it's going to open up, and this is what the Uipath interface looks like. But when you click it, it's going to open up LinkedIn, and it's going to log in as the user. And it's going to bring you to the save searches. So we have a test search in here for a robot. We put in specific criteria we're looking for. So once you go into that, you can see any new candidates. And the purpose of this robot is to iterate through the new candidates and input those into our applicant tracking system. So it's going to open up this first one for Jeffrey Meeks that fits our criteria in the search. LinkedIn Recruiter, for those that aren't familiar, has a way you can export their information as a PDF into a very standardized format. So we're going to save it as a PDF. And then Greenhouse has a Chrome plugin that you can export the data into. So we're going to attach this LinkedIn profile, and then optical character recognition, or OCR, is used in the background to put that data into those personal info fields that you see on the right side. It pulled his job, his LinkedIn profile, and then there's some fields that we usually do manually, but we have the automation set up to do that. So the source is LinkedIn. It's coming from LinkedIn. We're considering for this test job that we have set up, and then we're assigning it to Elise, who is our on our talent acquisition team. So this will, notify her and get her to review it. Then you simply add the prospect, and it's in Greenhouse, and the robot is going to go on to the next one. I'll touch on it a little bit more in detail, but they're skipping this one because it's a locked profile. So it knows to skip it and go on to the next one. So now it's up, pulling up David Henley. Same thing, it's saving it as a PDF. And we're going to use the Greenhouse Chrome plugin again to attach the document and extract the data. In this one, you'll notice it pulls his GitHub email address. So you get some contact information if it's provided. And again, you're going to add the prospect details, even though LinkedIn's already there, just for the sake of repetition with the automation. It's easier just to make sure it does it the same every time in case anything is changed. Assign it for the test job, and then again, assigning it to a lease. So the next two you're going to see are more locked profiles. So the way the automation set up is to check to see if it's a locked profile. I guess that's some premium functionality maybe, but it checks to see if that unlocked profile is present. If it is, it goes on to the next one. If it's not, it's a true prospect that we can put into Greenhouse, then it will go through that save PDF functionality. So both of these we can't do anything with. And then finally, we're pulling up Greenhouse, doing a quick refresh, and you'll see that Jeffrey Meeks and David Henley were added. And now Elise can move on with her talent acquisition duties to the next steps of kind of prospecting candidates. And those are the two demos.
Awesome. Thanks, Jessa. So with that, let's turn it over for Q&A. And I do know that we talked about a lot of acronyms today. A couple of other things that you may hear is hyperautomation. And what is that? Very similar to, it's all these components kind of working together. RPA really just being the robot, hyperautomation, like tying AI and ML and some of the other pieces together. BPA, so business process automation, same thing. We're automating business processes. Could be IT processes. It could be really any really succinct process with defined rules that people are manually typing in. One of the things that's maturing in this space too is you'll see that Uipath bought an API company, right? So they're trying to build the ecosystem around the tools to start leveraging APIs where we can. Some of the things that Dustin was talking about, some of those examples are utilizing APIs. They may just sit on top of applications, right? So the robot may just be typing in like, what Jessa showed us in the demos. It's actually entering the data for us, or it may use a lot of APIs or a combination of the two. So it can just sit on top. It can leverage APIs really for speed. But there's lots of different ways to utilize the technology, and the APIs, are getting better and better every day. So with that, let's open it up for questions if anybody's got them, and happy to answer what we can. And let's see, I think there's one in the chat. Can this use Yara functionality? Dustin, do you know that one?
No, I'm not familiar with that.
Okay. Robert, we can take that as a follow-up and reach back out to you.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Thanks, Dustin. Thanks, Jessa. I appreciate y'all's time, and thanks to the audience for tuning in for another Tech It Yourself webinar. We will record this, and we'll have it in our archive on our website, rvatech.com. We'll have that up in a few days, so if you want to share it or review it again, it will be there. And so thank you so much for attending. And again, thanks to UDIG for putting this on, and we'll see you next time on Tech It Yourself.